Hello and welcome to another episode of The Aftermath. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host Dylan. And of course, we did the rites and rituals that we normally have to do to get Chase here. How are you, Chase?
I'm good. Hello, everyone.
I mean, it's actually been a while since we've had you on, huh?
How's it been in the void?
Good few months.
The void. Is that just where he resides?
I mean, where else would you put him?
More like the orange void of hell called Home Depot.
Ah, I see. This episode is very special. I am not going to lie to you guys. I have been really hoping that this person would say yes to being on the podcast with us because I just think he's really cool to talk to. Is a mutual friend of ours, Dominic. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for that very flattering statement.
This is the second time you've called me lovely.
I mean, you know, I try to make you more whimsical, you know.
Don't hype me up.
I'm trying to be
get disappointed.
I always love hyping you up because you get so like about it, you know. I just feel like you're so. I just want the viewers at home to know he has his perfectly coiffed pomp, you know, hairstyle like he has in his leather jacket, and he just looks so edgy and he's so cool.
I look edgy.
I mean,
He's an edge lord.
no, I wouldn't say that. That. No, that has a certain stigma about it.
Yeah, I want to talk about that part.
But you know, sometimes I like to try and, you know, I try and soften up your rough edges every now and then.
You're throwing
Anyways, as I had said before, over the past, how did you got invited by
you broke
Ethan.
into our house.
No.
Oh. I didn't break in. When you can pick the lock, it's
yeah. There you go, perfect. I'm pretty sure Ethan invited you over like to one of our hangouts one time, right? And that's kind of how you got started in just kind of hanging out with the group.
The show business.
The show business. yeah. No.
The bronze screen.
I just remember like the first few times that we had like sat down and talked. I was like, this guy's so cool to talk to. I think it's because you and I like have very similar ways of thinking, very similar brain patterns in a lot of ways.
For sure.
The structure and just the way I think you understand me on a fundamental level that some people don't. So there's a couple of times where we had like brief conversations, and I was like, and then like this, that, and the other, and I do things this way, and you're like, oh, me too, and then like this, and I get things structured in this way, and I'm like, oh my god, you understand me.
I'm like down even to like I think we've been like cosmic twins. Like, we've lived like you were in a very different place geographically than I was,
right?
And at the same time, I felt like we were going through the same relationship patterns.
Yes.
So you'd be telling a story about one of your ex-girlfriends, and I'd be like, wait a second, you're not talking about the same person, are you?
Right.
Okay, we're good.
Right. So anyways, I just knew from the first few times we hung out, I was like, man, Dominic's so much fun to sit down and talk to, and I can get lost in conversation for a long time. But with that, I was like, and then as this happens, is you and me have this show here, Dylan, and of course, I just try to get people on here that I enjoy hanging out with and talking to. Mm-hmm. And so there was been many times where like recently, I think I had even told you before, I was like, I really want to find a way to try and ask Dominic if he was cool being on the podcast. I'm just nervous to ask him though, because I don't know if that's
twiddling your fingers.
And I was like,
do you want to go to the dance with me?
Yeah, right. Could you be on my podcast? I love it.
Go snowboarding.
Right.
Oh man, and I had so much fun, have so much fun talking to all of you guys that it was one of those like, really want me to put on the podcast. Don't freak out. Don't embarrass anybody. And I get on here and it's like, we just think Dominic's the best. Like, okay, I cannot turn any redder.
Okay, well, the good. So to easily segue this into the reason why we're here.
We watched a movie.
And boy, howdy!
Never done that before.
I have. Okay, so I will be quite frank with you, right off the top. This movie is called Quigley Down Under, and I've never heard of it before. A 1990 film, and it says it is a Western/romance. What a fun time this was. Yeah. I've only ever watched, I think, one other Western film. Well, I can't say that. There's probably other ones out there that I can't name.
Done a couple.
The one in particular I can think of is
Tombstone.
That's exactly right. Were you on that one?
I think I was. Yeah, I remember watching it with you now.
Wow. Okay. Wow. It's full circle now, apparently.
It's okay, Chase.
I maybe have watched. I watched the 90s Zorro.
Oh,
with what's his name? Rodriguez? No,
Antonio Banderas.
Antonio Banderas.
Oh my goodness.
I've watched that one before. Like I know it's like those are like Western films, but I can't really think of any other kind of like super cowboy-esque movies, at least off the top of my head right now. There may be other ones that I may have seen, but this is like I feel like it's a Western movie, and it feels like it true and true.
That takes place in Australia.
Yeah, of all places.
And I was kind of laughing at that. That I feel that Zorro is much more of a Batman movie than a Western movie.
Yeah.
I think I just attribute it to that because I think it's the same sort of like aesthetic.
Yeah. Horses, pistols,
desert,
carriages that ride
carriages, mysterious strangers. I don't know.
And of course, a dark stranger in the night.
Yeah, exactly.
Only one man can bring justice.
I love it. You're right, though. It does feel like Batman in the prairies.
Yeah, because he's like, sorry, this podcast is not about Zorro, but like the whole movie is just this like he's playing this rich guy. It's like, yeah, who's this masked bandit in the night carving Z's into walls and thinking he's a hero?
Z.
His name is Z. So yeah, like I'm just trying to think about like I know that we have had mutual friends of ours that have told me like you got to see some more westerns, man. Like you got to watch XYZ, and I'm like, okay, I believe you. Again, the whole premise of this podcast is there's numerous movies that are considered like art that I have not seen before. I need
A1 steak sauce.
And so I'm always open to watching more, and especially a movie like this one that you had talked very highly about, Dominic. You had said you were like, this movie is one of your favorites. And I think
expert.
And then the Quig expert. But you had said specifically like I can talk so long about this movie.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, that's perfect. That's exactly what I would like.
Okay, now go.
No, don't put him on the spot like that. Don't scare him.
Man, talking is not something I struggle with. It's the shutting up part that's hard.
Okay.
So down to the mechanics of this movie, of just how each scene has its own visual vocabulary.
Right.
Everything is set up just so well. Matthew Quigley's character is established from, the first second of the movie.
Oh yeah,
you just see this like big cowboy boot slam down, and you hear this spurs. Yeah. The word.
He even has like the little accent pieces on them that like just the dangles around that just makes a chime. Right. I'm like, what a cool
the Quig.
I know. You're right. From the very first scene we get him, I love the color tone of his outfit. He has like this nice like white cowboy looking hat, and he's wearing like a blue shirt with this like red handkerchief, and it's just like it's like this very it's this very like hero-esque color palette in some way. I think it's also subtly like he's from America, so it just kind of feels very
red, white, and blue.
Right. It just has this kind of subtle. It's very, very subtle. It's not aggressive at all, but out of all the other like browns and beiges and stuff, he's wearing like this kind of pop of color that's like, and he's Tom Selleck with a mustache, and he's like, man, that's our guy right there. And then from the very get-go, which you told me about this scene, and of course seeing it was so fun, where there's this old couple. So
I kind of want to walk through this.
So okay.
We see this cowboy boot and the spur, and we go, okay, our character's a cowboy. That's neat.
I get it.
You see him, he starts putting his bullets in his belt, like, okay.
Oh, yeah, the opening sequence, where he's like, it's so methodical, and he's very precise and like...
So he's kind of a rifleman type guy. That's cool. Okay, whoa, cool knife going in the belt. Kind of edgy, prepared for anything.
Right.
And then we see him pull out this massive gun. It's like, oh, that's a big gun. The barrel just keeps going and going. It's like, ooh, big gun. Ooh,
must be hunting
elephants. He picks up a saddle. It's like, okay, this dude is for sure a cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
Where's this horse?
A Western film.
Where's this guy going?
Mm-hmm.
And the film writers just know that's what we're thinking. So he slams his finger down on the table and starts tracing over a map. And it goes to Australia. They're like, what the heck?
What are you doing?
To Australia?
The hell's he going?
And then there's this ship that pulls across the screen.
Right.
Yes, he really is going to Australia.
Right.
So he's getting off the ship. And these like two old people. It's like, oh, I hope we're okay here. And this big Canadian guy goes, stupid old people, get off the ship. And just Quigley goes, hey, man, these people have taken a long trip too, and they're going to get off.
Right.
The old people go, oh, thank you, kind sir, and start walking off. But they get stopped on like the exit ramp, so to speak, because there's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Mean Canadian guy goes, oh, get off the ship or get back on. Make up your mind.
Right.
and Quigley just casually lifts the barrel of his gun right between the guy's legs.
Right.
And he gets off the ship too. And the old people are like, "Oh, I hope we're not taking too long for him." And Quigley just goes, "It's all right, ma'am. I talked to him. Turns out he's not in that big of a hurry anyway."
Right. I love it.
And so we get to see who Quigley is.
Right.
He's a man of preparation. He's
Right.
a man of action. He's there to defend the little people.
Yeah.
But he's not afraid to use force.
Not
But
a real stand-up guy.
he will use the most minimal amount of force to get what he needs done and tell a quippy joke.
Right.
And it all lands well. So in the first 2 minutes, you can kind of know if you like the movie or not.
Right. It is very. I love the little bit of brevity what's going on, but you're right. Just establishing this guy's a no nonsense kind of person, and then of course very quickly after that we get to see our female lead, our heroine of sorts, and she is like crazy. I mean, she's like going nuts.
Yeah.
And for the entire film, I don't say the entire film. For a majority of the film, I never quite understood her character. I know she's like crazy, but I didn't know if she was like supposed to be playing like an actual crazy person, because like you see her like banter between Quigley, and you're like, oh, you feel more normal, but then whenever you start talking, you really sound crazy all the time.
Yeah.
And then we kind of get some of her backstory like as the movie progresses, which is like super heavy, and I was not expecting that at all, because she kind of feels like a funny character at the very top. The very beginning is like supposed to be kind of, I don't want to say comic relief, but it feels a little bit like it's almost tiptoeing on that quality.
Yeah. She's definitely the one that brings out, I think, 2/3 of the laughs in the movie.
Right. And then once we kind of get the backstory about like her losing her child, and like her husband just like walking off and was like, I don't want a woman that's gonna kill my son and to save herself. It's like, man, that's heavy. And I can see how like for a person like that, how it would like really mentally make a person kind of go through the ringer, and it'd be hard to kind of deal with that sort of stuff. But anyways, I love the idea of her character, and I think that the development that she goes on in this film is really interesting as well. But you hit the nail on the head talking about like the epitome of like manly dude with Quigley.
Right.
He just feels like just this. He feels like a stand-up guy. Like at every moment, it's so cool to see. He's just a guy, just doing what's best.
A John Wayne type.
Right. I don't know. See, the thing is, I've never seen a whole lot of John Wayne. So again, so that's the thing. It's like
don't worry, we'll fix that soon enough.
Okay, yeah.
I definitely think if you're going to do John Wayne, another good semi-Western movie that doesn't read Western at all is The Quiet Man.
Okay.
John Wayne plays the character I can tell you more about later.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I love the overall vibe. And I don't know if it's just the way Alan Rickman is, but I know he always kind of plays like a bad or like pseudo bad character. Right. And so even from the first time we saw him, I was like, I don't know if this is going to be a companionship or this is going to be like a rivalry of sorts, but I couldn't really tell until the whole.
Oh boy, that reveal. That has to be one of my favorite instances of like comeuppance I can think of.
Dude. So we basically get the idea that our main antagonist is he's basically like he's trying to like keep the indigenous people off of his land. Is that right? Or is he just trying to hunt them?
He wants to wipe them from existence.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Committing full-on genocide.
I see. Well, regardless, he's doing something very bad, and of course, Quigley's like, I ain't having this kind of nonsense, and then
as soon as he figures it out, he's just
throws the man out of his own house. And I was like, you know what? Hell yes. Twice. and need I say, after he gets him and says, no one's going to be able to, no one can throw me out of my own house, walks back in and gets thrown out a second time. Right. It's I loved that sequence. But the reason why I love it is because our protagonist is not invincible.
Right.
And I love that.
Yeah.
He originally gets bonked on the head by like the slave like butler guy, which I thought was funny because he's like obviously attacking his master in some way, and so it may have some sort of weird, it feels like it's part of his job, I guess, in some way, or it feels like he has to. But But dude, you want to talk about the redemption on that character being like, I'm sorry, like not speaking any language, literally not saying anything because he probably didn't speak English, but is like in his own way saying like, yo, sorry, dude, I didn't mean to. I know I whacked you upside the head, but
didn't have much choice.
Something, again, I'm a big just geek for this movie, is that the writers weave in so much from the very beginning, these tiny threads, and they just start holding like a microscope to it and just increasing the magnification with every scene.
Yeah.
So when we first see Quigley arrive in Australia, we get to see just that Australia is a messed up place at the time. Right. We have slaves that have been there. We have European prisoners have been put there because Australia at the time was a penal colony.
Right.
So we get to see Quigley marching as kind of a one-man expression of America, a freedom of being a cowboy against the chaos and lack of liberty going on in Australia. And that's where we meet Cora, as she's being attacked by this group of men who want to do things that bad men want to do with women.
Right.
And Quigley, not knowing what's going on, defends her. Not like she's in the right, you're in the wrong, but let's take a second. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Right. Let's all calm down a second.
It doesn't look good to me. And in the middle of this brawl that breaks out as he's protecting Cora, she confuses his name with her ex-husband. And he goes, Roy. I'm not Roy, I'm Matthew Quigley. And this group of degenerates that he's been fighting turn around and go, oh, you're Quigley? You're the man Marston sent us to get. And we see the first look over Matthew Quigley's face of, ooh, what have I gotten myself into?
Yep, I definitely...
And so we have a seed as viewers planted in our mind of Marston's probably not a good guy if these are his men.
Right.
And it shows up, and we see Marston brutally murder 2 men.
Right.
In a sick game. It's like, okay, we know that Marston is a cheater. We know that he's a coward, but we know he's a good shot. So it's just the perfect villain for a Western, of this sleaze against this rough-cut gentleman of Matthew Quigley.
It's also like it's a natural setup for it. Like, it doesn't feel forced at all. It just kind of feels... the sequence he's talking about is like there are these deserters from the British like army of sorts, or I'm not quite sure what they're actually called, but he specifically, like, his guy leaves a rifle beside one of them, and of course the other guy has like a pistol on his hip as they're like letting him loose and talking about how they're going to send him back to their people as being deserters. And then, of course, obviously, like, letting them have their chance to potentially like fight their way out. And he shoots both of them in cold blood. Well, I don't want to say that because like there was every intention of killing him.
Right.
But yeah, it sets him up, like you were saying, very naturally that like he's good with the pistol, and he's also a kind of no nonsense guy too. But that's all being done directly after Quigley just proves that he can he can really hit a bucket 3 square times from far away.
Oh yeah.
So like that sequence happens where he shoots the bucket, and of course then these deserters come in, and of course then it's like our antagonist's chance to like kind of show off his skills too, and it's like it almost feels like a pissing contest, but I also feel like I really want to put my chips on Quigley at this point.
And it's also interesting the way that it's weighted,
Yeah.
in that, so we see Quigley do the job he was hired to do, which
Right.
was to be a marksman. And then I think the key is that Quigley gets hired, and then it's revealed who Marston is. It's like,
Right.
I've just been hired by
Right.
this jerk.
Well, but and also in his defense, again, the top of their conversation, he's like, you said that I was going to get 50 gold just for showing up. And he's like, oh, you're not going to waste any time. And he's like, buddy, I've been on a boat for 3 months to get here.
Right, sure.
I know, of course not. I'm not going to waste any time. Give me my money. So anyways, yeah, I love it. It just feels so natural the way all of it progresses, and it's super cool. But one thing that I really, really loved, time and time again, every time it showed up, is the orchestra in this film.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The iconic theme, all the different like beats of the music that would come in. It was so well done at every instance of it showing up, and I thought it was super cool.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
It's
Especially,
got a very poignant soundtrack.
I'm going to jump towards the end for a second, and whenever, what is our guy's name?
Quigley.
No. Elliot Marston.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever he gets killed at the very end, there's a point when he's holding his gun, and of course he just drops his gun for a second, and the strings stop hard for a second, and then swell back in as it pans to like our guy Quigley standing there, and it's like I finally succeeded at this, and it was like, oh, so like that was the one instance where like I heard that, and I was like, that's good.
Yeah.
I love good music in movies, and that was a good instance of like the music interacting with the world in a way that just made it feel so good.
Not just scenes happening in front of the music.
Yeah. Or just like a music happening behind things happening.
Right.
It just felt like it was like an action of like...
The music is part of the
yes,
scene.
he dies, hard stop. And it's like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And they even use music at one point in the movie to set up a joke. So our character is in the middle of a burning building, and he's going to jump from one building to the next, and his theme swells, his heroic moment music.
Yes.
And he jumps, and it swells in the air. It's perfect. It's beautiful. He lands and goes straight through the other building, and the music stops. It's
He's
like,
on. He's going.
got you.
Right. He's trying to jump onto another roof, and
Right,
as he
right.
jumps through it, I mean, it has no structural integrity. It just falls. It blasts through a nice solid hole, and it is hard cut, and it's so good, and I love that because again, it feels real.
Yeah.
Like we had said before, it's like at no point did he feel like he was invincible, you know. So I love that.
Yeah.
Another bit of his being human and vulnerable. You know, our character gets beat up a couple of times. That's one thing for an action hero.
Yeah, he gets put through the ringer.
Oh yeah,
But he's also not a Superman in terms of his morals either.
right,
And
right.
so we see him interacting with Cora, and we find out later on that Cora's kind of testing him, seeing what kind of man that he is.
Right.
So there comes a time she offers herself to him quite sexually several times, and each time he's just like, "Whoa, lady, chill out."
Slow down.
God damn.
But the first time he reacts with a little, almost angry edge. So we know
Right.
that he's a gentleman, but he also kind of pushed her away almost rudely. It's
Right.
like, okay, so he's not perfect. And later on, he sort of succumbs to her charm in a very comical and believable way.
Yeah.
But at no point in the movie does he ever interact with her as common. He even refers to her as lady when he doesn't know her name, which is kind of backhanded, but also everyone else refers to her as Crazy Cora. But he won't call her that.
Right.
But you also won't call her Cora just yet. But she's definitely a lady.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. At first, like I said, I didn't quite understand their their relationship dynamic partially because I never quite I could never really get a pin on her is what it felt like.
Right.
But then as it progressed more, I was like, okay, I think I do understand what's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this movie, and I had so much fun with it.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, the end, I will say there are so many great moments in this film, but towards the end, this is the one thing I was talking about. I know from the past that there was like a Quigley award or like a Quigley trophy or whatever, or some sort of thing that you can get in Halo.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, and
It was, or he calls it the Quigley shot, or I remember it being in Halo. You could get like a Quigley, and you basically, with a sniper rifle, have to hit 2 people with 1 shot. And you get like a Quigley or whatever, or it's called a Quigley shot or something like that.
Yeah,
is what you
something
do.
like that.
I think it may be like multiplayer or whatever. I'm not sure where it is, but it's like a special thing, like a double kill, triple kill thing, or whatever. And I've heard that in the past, but I never understood what it was. And then whenever he had talked about this movie, and then I had heard the name again, I was like, is it the same thing that I'm thinking of? And that is exactly what it is. Because again, that's the one thing towards the end of the film. They're trying to Marston is trying to like draw him out and like trying to really wait because he's like he's going to try and ambush us in the night. All of his men are tired. They've been up all night like waiting for him to do something. And then they're all like scrambling out in like this like courtyard area outside. And it just so happens that one guy passes in front of the other and he gets shot and he shoots 2 guys at once.
Yeah.
And then Marston is like, that freaking idiot's been waiting all day for 2 of these lunatics to, walk in, right behind each other. So, anyways, so
It's a good scene.
I loved it. It was great, and it was very well timed. And when I saw it, I was like, that's exactly what I was waiting for.
Right.
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
What did you think of the film, Chase?
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought it was great. I love me a good Western.
Oh, yeah. Can't beat him.
Yeah.
Especially Fistful of Dollars, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly.
I haven't seen either one of those. I mean, obviously, as we talked about at the beginning of this,
Right.
this
but
episode.
they're on the list for sure.
Yeah, I remember I
Do you
watched
have them?
I do
I
not
have the Good,
have
the Bad,
them.
and the Ugly, but not Fistful of Dollars.
Okay.
See, I remember I watched a good bit of them when the pandemic first started because I had nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd go to work, I'd come home, I'd just watch a few movies, get up, go to work, come home.
Fun.
So
okay.
on and so forth.
So on and some such.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. The climax of this film was as it was happening. I knew what was going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't take away from what was happening. If that makes any sense, I'm going to describe it. Please, just don't. I'm kidding.
No, I get what you mean.
Yeah, is that throughout the film, he has his rifle and he prefers his rifle, his big animal, his elephant rifle, if you will.
Right.
And he, the phrase that he says every time he's presented with a pistol or there is one involved or anytime he's around a revolver of some such, he always says, I've never really had a use for one. I never really had a need for one or something like that. But he never states that he has never used one.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we get towards the end, Marston really wants to like put him in his place and has an old-fashioned shootout.
Right.
And he's like, and of course I got my two goons here to make sure this is a fair fight for us. And he like throws his rifle way off to the side. He puts he has his goon put his second revolver in his belt. And of course he's like, it's gonna be a fair fight. And of course, and Marston has, being as cocky as he is, he's like, oh, this is your first time shooting a revolver. This is gonna be a good
Right.
training lesson for you. He's like, I'm gonna, he's all puffed up and big, and I was like, oh, buddy, I know exactly where this is going. Or at least I had a feeling. I was like, because again, it was that Chekhov's gun,
Right.
whereas like you don't put a thing in a scene and reiterate upon if you're not going to really cash in on it at the end. That's exactly what happened. He is at this point in time at the very end of the movie. He said it probably
Quigley's Colt.
2 or 3
We'll
times. You're right. He's said it probably 2 or 3 times. I think probably 3 times in general in the whole film that like he has no real use for a revolver. And then as he gets that gun in his belt, and as that whole sequence is going, and he hasn't really,
You know what? I
and
think
he has
I may have a use for this.
he hasn't said anything about it. I was like, I know exactly what he's gonna say, and I love it because I was like, and it didn't take away from the joy and the pleasure from hearing it. Oh man, because again, like, is it Marston? Is that his name? Yeah, Marston does like he tries to be real fast, and then in a blink of an eye,
Oh yeah. Takes out all 3 of them.
Quigley takes out all 3 of them.
I clocked this scene.
Yeah,
From the time we see Marston's hand twitch to go for the gun, by the time all 3 of them are shot, is 1 minute and 0.41 seconds.
really?
Yeah. From the time we see Marston's hand twitch, not even he fully grabs it, not the first shot,
Right.
the entire sequence
Wow,
takes 1 minute and 41 seconds. 1 second, 1.41.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
And so that's proof right there. Blasts all 3 of them, and of course walks up to him and he says, I said I never had a use for one. I never said that I never used one. And I was like, damn. So I was like, gotcha. I was like, that's so good. And I love that.
Yeah.
What a good comeuppance.
And one of the things I love about Marston here is he's dying. You can see on his face, Alan Rickman does a beautiful job of this. Dude, Marston's dead. His ghost is just lingering here for a second.
Right.
He gives Quigley this little bit of a smile of like, you're totally right.
He's
and
like,
then he dies and
damn.
drops the gun. And like Ian was saying, the music stops, but the gun also makes a heavy thud.
Yeah.
Something that I love about the movie overall is their attention to the little things.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Each prop has its own sound, its own resonance, which makes the prop sound so much bigger and more important in a way than it really is.
Yeah.
Quigley's gun almost sounds like I'm not sure if you guys love this, but in the game The Force Unleashed,
yeah.
the Force
Yeah,
has
yeah,
this
yeah.
incredible sound. You go to grab
Yeah.
someone, you fight, and when you use the Force to fight theirs, it makes a special reverberation.
Mhm.
In the same way, Quigley's gun has a special resonance to its cocking. that none of the other guns do. It sounds like Quigley's gun is alive.
There is one shot, and I can't remember exactly where it is in the film, but I want to say it's whenever they are with the indigenous people and they're being chased off. It's either that or it's the one time whenever the people that drug him out into the desert to leave him for dead and the guy's on the cart running away. I can't remember which one it is, but there's one in particular where he gets his gun and he's standing up. It must not be the one in the desert because he was on the ground. He's standing up when he shoots it, and whenever he shoots it, I swear that the echo of it probably is like a real like gun echo, but it sounds like a thundercloud.
Yeah.
The way it keeps rolling and rolling, and it keeps like changing as it, like whenever you hear a lightning and then thunder, and as the sound progresses, you hear it, and it when it gets lower and deeper. And there's one shot he takes when he's standing up, and he's standing there, and it just sounds like the camera's really low and it's looking up at him as he takes the shot, and it's just this lingering roll of sound of like just this huge, like, it's like, man, that is so impressive.
I'm pretty sure that scene is when it's the final showdown between Marston's men.
Yeah.
And he set up all those traps.
Right.
He's shooting to pin that guy down.
Yes.
And that's when we get the thunderclap shot.
I love that. It's just a good one. And then to further reiterate with that gun, the special effects, or I don't want to say special effects, the stunts, like, if you will, every time a person gets like a connecting shot with that gun, it really sells it. They get hit by a truck.
Flying.
Is like, it just, Ethan uses this term all the time, and we always joke around about it. It's getting rotated. That's exactly what happened. Is like, just imagine their like hip axis is stationary, and they're just like, and then they're just like doing
quick flip.
and they're just flipping,
Yeah.
or or getting blasted off of a horse. There's one time, I think it's the one in whenever the indigenous people being chased by them, and he's far away, and he gets one good shot, and the guy gets
destroyed.
It's like he stands still and the horse moves without him. So it's crazy.
There's also the guy on the hill. I don't know if you're talking about the same scene, but where he goes flying and then he comes, later to see if he's still alive.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Yeah.
when they get marched off the cliff, the Aborigines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were right. You said this whenever before we started the actual episode. You said that Alan Rickman decided to take the part because filming was taking place in Australia, and he always wanted to visit Australia, which is an interesting little fun fact for this film.
I thought that was so funny.
I love it. I love this. It's so,
and especially someone as talented as Alan Rickman. That would be the reason why he chose to become, this, Western individual who just captures a screen from the first second. I felt like going to Australia.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I've only ever seen him in Harry Potter. I would not have recognized him, but
Really?
since you said it, I recognized the voice almost immediately.
Well, he looks really young.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you would have recognized him in Die Hard.
Yeah, you would.
Wait, he was in Die Hard?
Yeah.
He was
Main antagonist in Die Hard.
It's been a long time since I watched Die Hard, so
It's okay. It's coming up. It's almost Christmas.
because
Right.
I think I watched. Is it the first one?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't realize that because I think I watched it whenever I was like, I don't know, 13.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
This is probably not the Brandon movie often covered here, but he also plays Colonel Brandon in Sense and Sensibility, who is another one of just, if you're studying perhaps what it means to be a good man, Colonel Brandon is an exceptional character.
Nice.
oh well, another opinion is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
we talked about that last Christmas. We
I
actually
see.
watched it for the 1st
We've
time.
covered.
And it was.
Also, Lethal Weapon 1.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen any Lethal Weapon ones.
Oh, dude, they're so funny.
Yeah.
A little fun fact for this. I'm as we're all talking about this, I'm looking up some of the fun facts. There's a bunch here on IMDb. I want to try and pick out some of the big ones. It says that both Steve McQueen and Clint Eastwood were considered for the lead role of Matthew Quigley, which in the end was cast with Tom Selleck.
A good choice.
Harrison Ford was offered the lead role but turned it down.
Damn.
This is a reversal of fortune, as Tom Selleck was the original choice to play Indiana Jones, but had to turn it down due to him filming Magnum P.I.
That's funny.
Wow, how funny. The 4 words that Matthew Quigley used to answer long-distance shooting in the newspaper wanted ad was M. Quigley, 900 yards. That's crazy. And of course, it had a cluster of shots in it. I love it. What a way to... Didn't he say, like, you have a way with words?
You have such a way with words.
I love it.
As the camera pans more so to include the bullet holes in the shot.
Right, exactly. With the writing on the advertisement itself.
What better way to prove it?
What if he just shot them all at point blank range?
Well, yeah, I mean, they wouldn't know for sure then, would they?
No.
The movie was a Western and romance movie. I think it also should have had comedy in it.
Right.
There are a lot of scenes that probably shouldn't have been as funny as they were. They were just hilarious.
I love that. Sometimes if it's not intended to be comedic, but it is intrinsically, I think that's great.
It's perfect.
Gush. Feels more authentic.
I'm gonna gush for just a second.
Okay.
Quigley has the name of the movie, obviously, and he's the action hero, and we expect him to be heroic. But what strikes me most in this movie is the way they include 3 particular heroes in the film. Cora has a really amazing redemption arc that I don't want to spoil for anyone, but she reaches her redemption right as Quigley is reaching kind of the dark point of his story. But in that dark point, a shopkeeper loses someone really dear to him.
Oh, yeah.
And never for a second blames Quigley, even though it was Quigley who brought the wrath of Marston down on that town. The shopkeeper's son also risked his life to save Quigley. And so there's so many great heroes who have nothing to offer. The woman who plays Cora is like probably 95 pounds and like 5 feet tall.
Right.
Yeah.
But she rushes into battles right alongside Quigley. She has nothing to offer. No real hope against these individuals. But she's fighting with... I'm sorry, what was that?
Not even a trained soldier.
Yeah. Anyway, so the heart of these would-be side characters kind of steal the show for me.
That same character you're talking about, I think his name is Grimmelman, is his character name. He's portrayed...
Oh, the shopkeeper?
Yeah, the shopkeeper guy, whose wife gets killed in the crossfire, is portrayed by the actor Ron Hadrick, whose real-life wife's maiden name is Margaret Lorraine Quigley.
Wow.
Oh, that's interesting.
Funny.
Right. So it's a little nod to him in some way. And he actually, that actor passed away in 2020, which is crazy to think about that. Yeah.
Well, I know at the end of the movie, as I was telling y'all earlier, I was getting really nervous once the British guys started showing up.
Oh, yeah.
So if anybody here's ever seen the ending of Red Dead Redemption 1, thought it was going to go down like that. Thank goodness it didn't.
Yeah.
I'm very glad it had a happier ending than that.
Mm-hmm. Redcoats ain't got shit on a horde, an army of Aborigines.
Oh, my gosh.
Lining the mountain ranges.
Yes.
I'm about 90% sure they could have gunned down Quigley, but they wouldn't have been making it out of there.
No, they would have perished for sure.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's another testament to the way that they included the soundtrack in the movie, or more so the sound effects. When Quigley first arrives in Australia, it's his first night there, he hears this distinct wind that makes him question what's going on, and he hears the Aboriginal music. And then later on, we hear that music louder when he's being helped by the Aborigines.
Mm-hmm.
But later, when the Aborigines come to his rescue, there's just this massive amount of wind.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think so, like, it's just kind of like the spirit of the Aborigines that are coming to help the man who's helped them so many times throughout the film.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. That's awesome. There's so many little things about this movie that I've realized, because the one thing that I also noticed is there's a specific point when the British soldiers for the first time meet Quigley, and he talks about how the British soldier talks about how like your country's full of like, you know, crazy people or whatever, or he's uncouth ruffians, misfits, yeah. And then of course he likes Quigley sits there, and of course like we got rid of all of our misfits. We sent them back to England or whatever, and then of course proceeds to like spit on the ground in front of him, and then he does that again whenever at the very end, whenever he served the papers of like we can hang you, and of course he's surrounded, then all the Aboriginals are like around and like hovering over him. He proceeds to stand there, not say a word, but look at him, but spit on the ground just like he did before. And I was like, shit, that's so cool. I was like, yeah. I was like, what a cool like little nod to what he did before. Like the second time he meets him, he does the same exact thing. Just spits on the ground in front of him, and then he just walks away. Yeah.
It's
so cool.
I've seen this movie dozens of times in my life. I've never put those two things together before.
Really?
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love, it was like that little nod. Like I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it was meant to be like that or not, but it just felt like it. Because whenever he said that, he's like, we sent our misfits away back to England or back to wherever you come from. It just goes, like, he does like a little, like a cowboy spit, just like, you know, like he has dip in his mouth where it just spits in front of him. And then I realized that like the second time, he didn't even say anything, because after he got served those papers and all the Aboriginal people are around, and it's this really tense moment, like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? It's quiet. Maybe some music's happening. And, of course, he doesn't say anything. He just spits out in front of him. And it's like, oh, man, dude. It's like, because we also know, because I'm pretty sure, at least at that point in time, I'm pretty sure, like, spitting in someone's direction or spitting on the ground is, like, you know, like a disrespectful thing, an insult of some kind.
I think it actually still is.
I mean, it probably is, but I think more so than is, like, if you spit in someone's direction, like, that is, like, considered like, you know, offensive and like you want to fight kind of way. I mean, you know, maybe less so now, but maybe not. I don't know. If
somebody spits at me, I'm gonna fucking throw it out.
Well, but the thing, like I can understand if someone spits on me, but like if another man just like spits my direction, I'll be like, so what? Yeah, it's like, yeah, right. Whereas I think back then it's like that is like, you know, like you want to throw down. You want to have a duel out in the streets.
Yeah,
a little, you know, like that kind of thing.
I think I did have somebody actually spit in my direction like that one day, but they were being an ass. So
well, you know, like once upon a time back in like medieval era, where you would take off your gauntlet and throw it down in front of somebody as a challenge.
Yeah,
it's like that probably doesn't mean anything now.
Yeah, bust it down.
But, yeah, it's like it's like, what is that? I don't think there's anything like that now that you can
knights in armor were breakdancing on the streets.
Yeah, no, now if you do anything like that, you'll just get the cops called on you.
I mean, yeah.
They called it a clanging because of the noise it would make.
Oh, God.
And I see it as Jerry Seinfeld has a bit about arguing with smokers.
Okay.
There's no way you can beat a smoker, because you can have the most well-articulated argument ever. And you know that inhale thing they do? They nod as they actually. Well, as if they're saying, like, that's what you think. But then they'll finish you off. They'll just drop the cigarette on the ground, heel
Step
on it, as you're still like saying, like, and walk off, and they won.
Yeah, right.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's what it was with Quigley. I'm just like,
yeah,
you had a good point, but
there's no spin your direction.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's all I had to say to you.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Right. I don't think he had any dip. He just spits in there. That's what I was saying. Like at no point is he. I mean, we catch him rolling his own cigarettes a whole lot.
So he's probably got bits of tobacco in his mouth.
Maybe not, but I took it as like just like an offensive thing. Like at no point does he ever have like he ever has tobacco. He only has been rolling his own cigarettes, and he only smokes them every now and then. But it just feels really, for me, it felt really pointed. I don't think he's ever really spit.
Yeah, I don't think he does with any other character.
So it's just that character and those like two sequences where it's just like really like it feels very pointed. Like it doesn't feel. Yeah. He doesn't do it. If he did it all the time, it's like, oh, it's just whatever. But it's like it feels like it's intentional. It's like that's what it felt like, at least.
And again, that's such a good point. I've seen this movie so many times and I never thought that could be just for that
guy. Because I mean, you know, especially because I don't think he has really any. I don't think he really talks to him, but of course, like the British soldier, the first sequence that he meets him, it's kind of shitty towards him, like, you and your uncouth people. And it's like, okay, man, okay, sir, I didn't ask for this.
I know you?
Yeah. I'm just here. I'm just on this wagon, minding my own business. He's like, you better do your job well. And
like, I'm sorry, do I owe you money?
Don't screw up. And it's like, okay, I mean, you don't know who I am. So I can understand why he'd be like, you know, screw you, buddy.
Right. Of course.
Yeah. So anyways, especially an old cowboy,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was also the idea that Matthew Quigley throughout the whole movie has Tom Selleck's kind eyes, charming smile.
Right.
And then this guy can shoot you from a mile away.
Right.
With one bloodied eye. It's like
Right.
he can grab any old revolver on anyone's like waist and kill 6 people in 5 seconds.
Right.
And so it's like, so him looking at you and your man on your pretty little horse is
Right.
like,
yeah.
you don't worry your pretty little head about it.
Right.
I promise I'm going to do just fine.
It's
and if we ever have some
What,
trouble,
you egg?
you won't have to think about it for too long.
Guys,
cool.
Quigley didn't take the job. I want you to kill him. I know I asked for the best sharpshooter, but I want you to kill him. Why are you all dying to him? It shouldn't be this hard.
Right, and that's what I thought was so funny. I'm not to say that I was like, it's unbelievable or anything like that, but I thought it was so funny is like there's a point when Marston gets upset that all of his goons are kind of getting sort of scared / like turned off to the idea of trying to chase him because he's so good at his job and has proved it time and time again because no one has they've been able to rough him up but not kill him though or not land a shot on him before like he kills many of their partners.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, man, it really does he gets upset justifiably, but for me I also get you can't get too mad though because you did ask
Right.
for the best sharpshooter around and then you proceeded to piss him off. So it's like you kind of have what's coming, but
Right.
If I was in that situation, it's like I watched him shoot a bucket three times from a good ways away. I ain't deal with
even
this.
after you asked him are you certain you want to keep it that far away?
We can move it closer for you if you want.
And the only reason I'm pretty sure he stopped shooting that bucket, Mr. Marston, is because it went over the hill and it could not be shot anymore.
Exactly.
I think that is why.
It's precisely what happened, and that's the first time where he says that, where he claps back with no, I'm pretty confident that it's fine, and then proceeds to shoot it 2 more times, and I'm just waiting for him to be like, and I don't want any more sass out of you anymore either.
Yeah.
Don't you back
Know your
talk me.
place.
And that's
Piece of garbage.
another little bit I think that is really great character exposition in the movie is Quigley is asked to demonstrate his skill.
Right.
He grabs his rifle. He's making sure the scope is mounted properly. He's feeling the wind. He's looking at the weather vane. He does, I think, some sanding, see the wind direction for sure. Right. He takes a careful aim, raises the rifle, takes a deep breath, steadies himself, and is about to shoot. And Marston comes and like,
I'm pretty sure he
actually.
Yeah, right.
Are you sure you don't want to move up any faster? And Matthew quickly drops the gun. Where he's like, I can't believe this idiot just interrupted me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, okay, he's going to go through the whole song and dance again. No. Matthew just raises the gun,
turns,
blinks his eye, boom, shoots flawlessly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bucket tumbles in the air.
And so I think that is Matthew Quigley. Again, another microcosm of the character.
Right.
He's patient. He is humble. He's going to prepare and not just rush into things. But when you put the pressure on him, he will take the shot just as cleanly as if he had had all night to prepare.
Exactly. Right. And I love that. That is very true because it does feel like that at some point. It feels as though that is an insult in a way. You sure you don't want it any closer? I'm sorry.
Are you kidding me?
Can you not see that I'm in my process
serious?
right now? Do you want me to go micromanage you while you're doing your job? I didn't think so.
outta
I
here.
hate that. You hired a specialist. I'm here to do a job. Don't micromanage me.
Right.
I'm here to shoot this bucket, damn it, and I'm going to do it.
Right.
I love it.
You want me to kill the bucket or don't you?
I'm just picturing Tom Selleck looking over Alan Rickman's shoulder like, are you sure you don't want another horse? Kind of police checking all of these aborigines off the mountain. You get another 3 in there totally.
I love it. What a fun time.
Oh, man.
Okay, man moment. This movie makes me cry probably 4 times each time I watch the movie.
Mm-hmm.
When Cora tells her story, I cry.
Yeah.
So good.
But we see just the love that Matthew Quigley and Cora begin to share.
Right.
And she has to face her own demons so many times throughout this movie.
Right.
The biggest time that I cry is when she overcomes her past.
Yes.
Was she smothered her child by mistake before she was sent to Africa. No.
Right. Australia.
Thank you.
Close.
Right.
Oof. And there comes a time in the movie where there's all these dingoes after her. She's hiding in a cave with a baby.
Right.
And she goes to put the hand over the little Aborigine baby mouth.
Right.
And I love this moment. Aborigine baby like takes her arm off. It's like,
right,
I'm gonna breathe, and she throws back her head, laughing at herself so dark. Like, I can't believe I was about to do that again. And she just goes, "No, you scream, you cry.
Right.
Let's both make some noise." She grabs the gun and just
fires off one shot, just just cause.
Well, I think she wanted to use that sound to scare the dingoes.
Oh yeah,
off,
right.
Yeah. Just that moment of she begins to laugh and sing and scream and just reliving the moment that she lost her own child and redeeming herself. That moment is so great.
Right.
It's hardcore.
It is. Especially because whenever they actually do come in the door, she just starts like blasting some shots and connects one of them. And of course, it just goes to show how freaking savage the dingoes are. You just eat that one that gets wounded.
Yeah.
And then, of course, more come in and get all angry and stuff, and she really conquers it. It is a really good, like, full circle, like, story, and I love that. But, man, it is... her story, it's hard to hear. It's like, man, that's... Especially because whenever she was, like... Again, it's another, like, Chekhov's gun situation where they put into place that she is hurt by the fact that, like, he didn't say anything to her. Roy, her ex-husband, doesn't say anything, packs up her stuff, brings her to the nearest boat, which is conveniently going to Australia, and then sends her on her way. And the only thing that he says to her is, "I don't want a woman who is going to kill my son to save her own life," and proceeds to walk away and never look back. And she makes a point to say, "And I watched to check, and he didn't at all." And I was like, man, and that's the point where like it all comes together. And then of course at the very end, whenever Quigley's going to do his, what we may think is a suicide mission, who knows? He's a one man going up against a whole crew of people and Marston. He may not come back, and we don't know. As he stands there, and of course he's consoling Cora in his own way, and just kind of like making light of the situation, kind of like she did earlier in the film, where he's trying to talk about something and she's like making kind of jokey remarks about it. It's very opposite. She's being very serious and talking directly to him, and he's like, "You look really nice in that dress, and in the bright morning sun, you look so beautiful." And he's like saying all these like nice things. But then as he like runs off into the hills, he stops and turns and looks back, and I was like, that's the money shot right there, where it's like that's the one, and she really gets touched by that, and it's like that probably meant more to her than anything in that moment right there, because it brings her story full circle, and it's like, oh, it's so cool, and
the good ending.
It better adds to Quigley's good character and stuff.
I'm really excited for the action hero ending.
Yeah,
but honestly, the movie could have ended right there.
It would have
been perfectly satisfying.
Right. I love that. That's such a good movie.
And so it's interesting. Cora's character is put on the ship from America to Australia.
Right.
By the man who is like renouncing her.
Right.
And then she spends a while just obviously in torment over that. And when she meets Quigley and he protects her, Cora immediately starts calling him Roy. Which she denies knowing him a couple of times, jokingly. And then I call them Cora non sequiturs. Whenever she reaches something that has a painful or dark answer, she responds with nonsense.
Yes.
And usually from a very domestic mind of referencing church potlucks or different times they've invited others over, or this tragic situations, just like, when they started a new job, like, all of that made up history. So after they have been left for dead by Marston in the first part of the movie, they get rescued by Aborigines and taken and nursed back to health. It's that night when they're in the camp and they've been established as kind of part of a tribe in a way, just the mutual care for each other.
Right.
Cora opens up to Matthew and tells him the story, which we've said several times, how she was sent to Australia. That next morning, the Aborigines are walking off, and Cora starts with a non sequitur about, it's just like the Phillips family, how they left, remember? And Matthew responds with, Well, it's their own fault for inviting them again this year. It is the first non sequitur that we see. And I think it's because Quigley knows who he's talking to now. She's a very intelligent, kind, honest woman.
Right.
Who puts up a front because she's in pain.
Yeah.
So, and we see it become more and more common of Quigley getting that he needs to talk to her in a non sequitur.
Right.
And it just becomes something, like Ian was saying, that they switch roles in the movie.
Right.
And they start going back and forth their own coupley language, which is very believable, very cute, but also very deep.
Yeah. I love it. That's so good.
It's good stuff.
It's good stuff. Good soup.
Good soup.
Good
Good West.
Good Western.
Good sand.
Have you guys ever heard the song Big Iron?
Yes.
Of course.
I love that song.
Never.
You haven't heard it?
No.
Okay, well, we'll listen to it after the podcast is over.
Sweet.
It is a good old Western song, and it is the tale of a good man that has a big iron, and it's his revolver, and he's just here to do good. And he's taking out a cowboy, a rogue renegade man.
Yeah.
It's a good song, and hearing that again, I think this is a good Western format. This movie, how it follows a traditional Western format, but that song reminds me of this movie in a certain way because again, this big gun, this good guy who's just here to try and take out the bad guy.
Yeah.
That song reminds me of that.
Oh, well, speaking of, I don't remember what the song it was, but you know the songs that they play in New Vegas, right?
Yes.
Do you remember a song in there talking about exes or something?
I think so.
I
think I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of the name of it.
I can't think of that. Well, anyways, I was in a restaurant in Missouri, and they were actually playing one of the songs from there, and I thought that was kind of funny.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah.
I also like there's a song, I think, I'm butchering all this. It's called Jingle, Jangle, Jingle. And it's, I got Spurs.
I got Spurs that jingle,
exactly. It's like,
jangle, jangle.
right. And so whenever I saw his Spurs with the little
heard that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an old, like these are like old like 50s and 60s songs, I think.
Yeah.
But it's when I saw his Spurs and had the noisemakers on the end of them, I was like, man, that's so funny. I love it. But yeah. So if you had to describe this movie, guys, in 3 words, how would you do that? This is a fun little thing we do. We try and summarize the movie into just like 3 words. It can be nonsensical, but just kind of a goofy, funny moment. So like, how would you just try and summarize the big beats of this film?
I'm gonna go with didgeridoo dingoes dying.
Yes, I love it. I was gonna say I was just gonna go easy, just big rifleman.
Yeah, that works.
That's about as good as I got right there.
Helping one another.
Right.
Invisible Man shoot.
Invisible Man shoot. I also like Sandstorm Love Story, but it was too many. Unless Sandstorm's one word. Yeah, Sandstorm Love Story. It's a good one. Yeah.
Gerard
Sandstorm.
Can we make that the title?
Sandstorm Love Story?
Yeah.
You
Gerard
got it,
Sandstorm?
dude. Darude Sandstorm.
Oh, Darude Sandstorm.
Yeah. I love it.
Oh man.
I'm trying to look up that song you're talking about. You said it was about exes.
I think so.
Perhaps it is called X.
Let's see.
I don't remember. I think it had Texas somewhere in it. It was not All My Exes Live in Texas, though. I know that for a fact. Because I know for a fact that song is not in the game.
Right. Well,
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. We'll find it eventually.
If you can, folks, go watch this one as soon as possible.
I have never heard about this movie, and I was so surprised.
Podcast or the movie?
The movie, Chase.
I've never heard about this film.
If you want someone to watch something, you can just force them.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
No.
He can.
Oh.
Did you forget that we have to summon him here?
Oh, yeah, you're right. I didn't know that was like part of his ability,
must be performed.
Well, no, we can force him to be here, but I didn't know that he could force somebody else to be there.
It just depends on his mood.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you know the deep lore behind Chase.
I'm surprised you don't.
I try to keep a arm's distance. I try to keep a portal's distance between he and I before we really
realm's distance.
Realm's distance. I try to never cross over the same plane of existence that he is at the same time because I know stuff goes sideways when that happens. You're really getting a deep lore here on the friendship. So
dude, I'm loving it. I'm picturing a combination of Hellboy and some like way better multiversal Walker.
So do you know you know that no matter what timeline, no matter what game, movie, or adaptation, Chase is always just Chase, but in a different area. So like obviously like Chase in a Western is just his name is Chase and it's just Chase. Like there's no he's not. You know, he may be more fit and more like capable with a gun, but it's like, but he's still just Chase though.
It's a Western. No one's ever more fit in a Western. They just wear baggier clothes.
Right. And so that's the thing is like, and so we say that part of more of the lore of Chase is just the fact that it's even for us to get him here, he's not here. He's here, and so we have to like we have to bring him here.
We have to channel one of his many instances.
Yeah, right. And then at one point in time, we had said that like if there was hypothetically like a summoning rites that has to be done to like really get him here, what would it be? And he was like, it needs to be like an off day, a rain energy drink, and what else was it? And I think promise of some. I forgot what it was. Anyways,
I don't remember. I think it had to be I was off the next day.
Right.
Or
the moons have to align properly.
Something
and
like
third
that.
element is left to the sphinxes to unleash.
Right, exactly. And then and only then can he appear on the podcast. And then
oh man, that's perfect.
Right. So
I have been blessed truly by 7 stars to be amongst the Chase.
Right, exactly. On this day.
It's a rare occurrence.
November 1st.
Count your lucky stars. He's the one who put them there.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, he may have had some hands in it.
Oh no, it was him.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Anyways, so now that we've gotten all of that happening, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciated this. This I would say, I'm not gonna lie, this is probably one of our more documented episodes of the film. A lot of times we kind of go off on a rabbit trail. And we'll talk about the film, but then sometimes it's really hard to really keep it on track. But this one was actually pretty good. I mean, and I say it's bad. I'm just saying it's a different aspect. But this one feels like we really talked about this movie, and like it's highs and lows. It was really great. So
it's good stuff.
It probably doesn't hurt. There's like an absolute Quigley geek on the other end.
I was gonna say that like there's probably a reason why. It's because we have two people that are very organized and very structured in what we do things, and so now it's all of a sudden like, oh wow, I think I understand why this episode is the way it is. Because I think a lot of times with Ethan, it kind of is a wild card. So Dylan is like our middleman, and so it's hard because it's like I try to have a way of doing things, and then Ethan just is like, wow, random. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, I envy that trait so much. He is so lovable and wild.
Right.
And like, dude, like Chase is like no doubt he has been summoned from another universe of just like, he just always is Chase. Like the world could be blowing up around him. He's like, but did anyone bring my rain?
Right. Yeah.
That's cool, bro.
That's cool. It's fine.
I won't
and then
talk
vanish
until I get my drink.
Right. And then precisely when the clock strikes 9 o'clock, he will be gone.
He will disapparate.
Right.
Yes.
There's been many times. There's been many times where it feels like Cinderella and the pumpkin, where he's like, once the clock strikes 12, he's like, I have to run because I'm gonna have to go. I'm not gonna be a princess anymore. It's like Chase. He stands up and says, well, I ought to get going. And that is his cue that like if he's not out of the door, he's gonna vanish before us, and then of course we will all be terrified. He wants to hop in his car and then disappear and apparate somewhere else, so we don't see it personally.
Yes.
Right. Doesn't want to scare off the neighbors.
Oh, actually,
because he transforms into his true interdimensional form.
Just like he just comes and turns into this.
We call them neighbors. He calls them obstacles.
Aw, Chase, did you apparate in front of Jimmy again? He's all upset.
Jimmy's gone.
Get over it.
No, he's still there, but he's just
who's Jimmy?
He's just wide eyed and just standing there terrified.
I think the question is, who was
Jimmy? Like, did you scare off Jimmy again? He's like, why was Jimmy? I don't understand, Chase, but I'm just going to go ahead and let you do your thing.
On another note, you know how much I love the Sicario movies. I might be able to make a third one appear.
Really?
Ayo.
Yeah.
There's a third one?
Supposedly, it's in the works. I heard from a coworker that also really likes Sicario.
Okay.
He said that they were talking about making a third one. I'm like, Hell, I'll do a GoFundMe.
Right.
They can make a third one.
I loved the first one.
Oh yeah,
but I think we talked about that in that episode.
We did.
The second one was hard to follow because it felt like it was a different timeline.
The second one, you can't really think of the first one. The second one as a sequel.
Right, and that's what I thought. And I was like, it was just.
I should have probably told you that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
because same thing happened to me.
Is there anything else you want to add on your debut episode? And anything you want to leave the people listening with any good vibes or positivity, or just tell them to go screw off?
Oh man.
We've done this once or twice before.
The latter.
We've done this before once or twice where I've been like, you want to leave? And of course, some people have said some. No, yeah, right. I'm pretty sure Ethan had said something deep and meaningful.
The audience
it was Eric. Eric left the episode and was like, yeah, just do good by people, love people, and do, and I was like, yeah. That was his ending remarks, and I was like, wait, I don't think I've ever actually left on such a chill vibe like that before. Anyway,
so if you want something poignant, I think the biggest thing is just be the little fish.
Yeah.
If you're just gonna go around and swim and be the big fish in the same old pond, yeah, that's a problem. But if you go and you do the hard thing, you're the little fish in a bigger pond, surrounded by bigger fish, that's something you can do but grow. Be surrounded by people who are better than you, bigger than you. So just
so good.
Really glad to be here. People who have so much zest for life and come together, and the friendship you guys share is inspirational.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so good to hear. I appreciate that.
The sentiment is appreciated, Dominic, but I am terrified of the ocean.
There we go.
So he's gonna grow legs and go find land somewhere. That's cool.
Fifth Chinese brother.
Yes.
Oh man. Yeah. What a good way to end. What about you, Chase? Do you have any primordial speech that you want to add onto the end of this? Any songs from the depths?
All right, everyone. Watch the movie.
Okay.
Enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. and then he just apparates again. Like, oh shit!
And I'm coming for you.
And watch underneath your bed tonight because it's gonna be bad.
A double operation. I'm
Don't
so
worry.
lucky.
Don't worry. If you feel a hand on your blanket but you don't see anybody, it's just trying to tuck you in just a little bit.
Yeah. I'm just trying to keep your tootsies warm.
Yeah.
Dominic didn't like that one.
I mean, it's a sweet thought, but at the same time,
Right.
Half of me is the other half is full on.
Yeah,
cringe.
it's like no. There's a side of me that's like, thank you for caring, but also no, thank you. I don't need you to help me at all, please.
Don't worry, that happened to me once. It was a little.
I want to leave the podcast with this a little bit. I heard a story of a guy who, his family, he was from Japan, and his family was upset that he was kind of aloof and didn't really have a job or anything like that. So he posted on Twitter of being a do nothing guy. And he basically wasn't going to initiate conversation, wasn't going to pay for food or whatever. It was just going to be a friend for some people. And people really started loving that. And even though he wasn't one to he was going to do nothing, and that was the whole point. It's you had to kind of do everything, but it was just someone being there for somebody. Really meant a lot to people. And I think I've realized that as well. It's sometimes you don't really got to do a whole lot. You just got to be there for somebody. Just listen. Yeah. Just be a guy. Come on. Just be a dude. Anyways. Thank you so much for listening. As I said before, if you're looking for us, you can type in linktree/Ian Wolf, and you can find all of our links there. Or you can type in The Aftermath on all the major podcasting platforms, and you should be able to find us that way.
If you dare.
But until next time, thank you so much for listening.
See you.
Have fun, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.